Australia's island state of Tasmania is famous in world motorsport for an event of epic proportions. An event where competitors take on 6 days of Targa rallying in the ultimate race of man and machine. Teams embark on a challenge not only in their competition or class, but every road and weather condition the state can throw at them. In its 22nd year, 200 teams will tackle one of the longest and toughest in the race's history. So who will conquer Targa Tasmania, the ultimate tarmac rally? In April 2013, 200 rallying teams gather in the northern city of Launceston for Targa Tasmania, the season finale of the CAMS Australian Targa Championship. 600 kilometres of competitive racing over 6 days, and with double championship points on the line, the teams at the top end of each category will be striving hard to bring home the coveted Targa plate. Wet conditions greeted the competitors for round 1 in Adelaide. Over the 4 days of competition, Jason and John White's Lamborghini Gallardo won the modern event. And in classic outright, it was local Craig Haseman in his Triumph TR7 who ended up on top of the podium. Round 2 took the competition to the Victorian mountains for Targa High Country. Sunny, warm weather welcomed the field over the 2-day event around Mansfield and Mount Buller. The Whites couldn't repeat their success of Adelaide, with the Lambo breaking a drive shaft on day 2, and it was the Nissan GTR of Tony Quinn that took the modern honours. In the classic competition, Queensland's Don Todd took out the outright win from the Datsun of John Siddons and the TR7 of Haseman. Round 3 headed to the Huon Valley in Tasmania, south of Hobart, with the Whites returning to their winning ways, blitzing the field over the 2 days, with Victorian Matt Close in second and Tony Quinn in third. In the classic competition, Matthew Cardinal's 240Z won the outright and late classic events over Greg Garwood's Tirana A9X and Don Todd's Piranha in third. So after 3 events, Tony Quinn leads the modern category of the Australian Targa Championship from Peter Rouleau's GTR, with the Whites in 4th. But each team can drop their worst round, effectively leapfrogging the Whites into the lead. In early modern, it's a battle between Lloyd Berger's Audi S2 and Michael Pritchard's Porsche. In classic outright, Don Todd leads from Matthew Cardinals in second and Craig Haseman in third. Todd leads the early classic championship and Cardinals leading the late classic respectively. In Showroom, Glenn Crimp leads in his Ford Focus RS, with Bunge Knorr and Adam Spence both in Renault Meganes in second and third. In Showroom 4-wheel drive, Greg Burrows has a comfortable lead from the Evos of Alan Mayer and Scott Miller. The opening day sees a new warm-up stage in Cayena before the traditional Georgetown Temco prologue stage. The real action begins on the Wednesday, leg 1, which sees a reversal loop from the traditional course, starting with Deloraine and taking in Moriarty, Paluna, and finishing with the tough Mount Roland stage. Leg 2 takes in the East Coast with a loop from Rossarden, Elephant Pass, St Helens, through the northeastern passes with the tough sidling stage late in the day, finishing in the traditional street stage in Longford. Leg 3 sees the long run to Strawn on the west coast via Ulverston, taking in the testing Sathana, then Castra, the new Isandula stage, Hellier Gorge, Plimsoll, and finishing with Grenadina near the overnight stop in picturesque Strawn. Leg 4 sees the run from Strawn to Burnie and return, taking in the stages of Reese Dam and Pyman, then the new Murchison, Natone, Guns Plains, a revised Rihanna, then on the way back to Strawn through Mount Black and Rosebery. Leg 5 sees the traditional stages of Strawn, Queenstown, the 58-kilometre long Mount Arrowsmith, and then Tarraleah with lunch in Bothwell. The sting in the tail could be Woodsdale, the penultimate stage, with the cars finishing at Rest Point in Hobart. The drivers gather at Country Club Tasmania for the official start of Targa Tasmania on what is known as Leg 0 of the event.
5, 4,
The Cayena stage is the shakedown stage before tackling the coveted Georgetown stage at the mouth of the Tamar River.
Really, the opportunity with Cayena is to allow crews to bed in, understand their cars, get used to the speed of the cars before they hit the tight and technically challenging Georgetown stage.
But having problems on the first stage is not the best way to start the event.
We think it's related to the fuel pump. There's no power to the fuel pump, it's just not running, so the engine will crank over but won't fire. Mechanics are on the way. Hopefully they'll find the problem and we'll be right to start tomorrow.
Georgetown is a street stage and the chance for locals to get up close to the Targa action. From the vintage cars of yesteryear, the muscle cars of 60s and 70s, to the modern classics of the last 10 years and today, there's something for everyone. The 4.5-kilometre Temco Prologue is lined with spectators and is an early challenge for the field.
You drive the centre of the road here because of all the curbing. You've got to be fairly careful with that.
Being able to flog cars through the streets legally, unbelievable. Thank you, Tasmania.
In modern, Jason White set the pace and came in 6.15 seconds faster than second-placed Matthew Sims in his GTR, with Matt Close's Audi in third. In the gritty classic competitions, it was reigning outright champion Rex Broadbent who was unexpectedly the quickest.
I think this year we're really up against it. The forecast looks dry for the whole event, and I just haven't got the power. The Porsche has not got the power to keep up with the V8s.
Normally, Rex works his way through the event in the opening days, but made a quick start to 2013 with John Siddon's 240Z in second. Leg 0 certainly didn't go well for a few of the front-running Nissan GTR teams, with 2011 Targa winner Tony Quinn having electrical issues. Steve Glennie also had problems nursing his GTR, and Peter Rouleau breaking a drive shaft and gearbox.
A little bit disappointing. Look, our bad luck from practice yesterday has carried on to today. We've got some gearbox issues, and I think we broke the front tail shaft that goes to the front diff on the line of Georgetown. So the boys are just taking me out at the moment.
Coming up after the break, we take a look at the classic competitions as they take on the opening legs of Targa Tasmania 2013. Leg 1 of Targa Tasmania 2013 is a loop from Launceston to Railton and return.
Day one is really building on the qualifying session of Leg 0. There's 2 warm-up sessions in the morning with the stages of Deloraine and High Plains before we head into some really challenging stuff through the tight and twisty technical sections of Sheffield, a quick lunch break at Railton, and then heading over to Paluna, and then right through one of the most challenging complex sections for Day 1, a stage where really the winner of Day 1 will be defined through Mount Roland over Mount Claude.
For the competitors in the classic competitions, both outright and handicap, the biggest challenges for the morning are the stages of Sheffield and Mersey Lee. John Siddons had problems that slowed his progress up the leaderboard.
I had a little bit of a miss up the top end, so change of plugs, so I'll see what it's like after lunch. But other than that, everything seems pretty good.
But Mersey Lee would be the undoing of championship leader Matt Cardinals in the Legacy 240Z.
No damage to the car, just slid into a ditch and had to get pulled out, so 20 minutes down there. we'll just keep going. We're on the pace. We're top 3 and 4 consistently for the first couple of stages, which is comforting to know. Anything can happen over the next 4 days.
The battle on leg 1 in Classic outright would be between the big V8s of Peter O'Keefe and Greg Garwood.
Pushing as hard as we can, but really trying to conserve tyres as well. A long way to go, and tyre wear is obviously a big concern.
But the challenge of the day would be the run over the final stage of the day, Mount Roland, and that would be dominated by Targa champion Rex Broadbent, making up 15 seconds on O'Keefe, bringing the overall deficit to just 4 seconds at the end of the opening day.
Rex is the master, isn't he? Lucky to have been front in day one, and we'll just do our best tomorrow.
I really thought the gap would have been bigger than that. I think these stages were probably power stages and would have suited a V8, so I'm actually ecstatic to be, there or thereabouts.
Championship leader Don Todd had a cautious start to the event.
We'll just keep running at a consistent sort of speed, just where it's safe. And, like at the end of the day, you've got to get to the finish line and run consistently.
We had a pretty average start, a very soft start, but the car came good across Mount Roland. I think we've got a lot more in it. But it's the first day of a long event, so we're happy to still be in touch.
Leg 2 took the event to Tasmania's east coast, with competitors experiencing a damp Ross Arden stage, which caused a few dramas. The Elephant Pass saw the V8s of Garwood, O'Keefe and the TR7 of Hazeman all run the fastest time. The two Tiranas pushing Broadbent back to 3rd overall.
Caution, 7 left, tightens badly.
What's this, a 7?
7 left, tightens badly, 100. 7 left.
Broadbent would fight back in the afternoon stages of the northeastern passes, with Rex being the fastest over the tough sidling stage by 4 seconds. After the Longford Street stage, just 9 seconds separated the top 3 cars.
Look, I'm really happy just to be in the mix. I thought the V8s would have hosed us on dry conditions, and they haven't yet.
I was still surprised about the front, it's actually really tight at the front. We're looking back to the times, we're swapping times with Rex and Greg and fellas in the TR7 and Siddons, and just all, it's tight. It's good.
Both cars going really well. PJ certainly keeping the pace on, and we're just trying to conserve tyres and keep up with him and Rexy and just see how it all ends up in the finish.
Day 3, we kick off out of Launceston for the last time during the event in 2013, heading to what is well known as some of the most amazing stages of any kind of rally in the world, over Sathana. New stage of Isandula, just outside of Ulverston, has been discovered through some local knowledge, recently sealed road. Certainly going to sort them in from the boys before we head over to some old favourites of Hellier Gorge, Aldina, and then heading right down into the west coast through Rinadina and also Plimsoll. Some great sections of road, almost a little bit inspired of Monte Carlo and some of those interesting roads around the southern coast of France.
Leg 3 would be tough on the classic competition, and on the second stage of the day, Sathana, a 37-kilometre marathon, Peter O'Keefe's A9X was forced to quit with gearbox problems, while Rex Broadbent blitzed the field to turn a 9-second deficit into an 8-second lead over Garwood. The top 2 would trade times for the next few stages, Aldina being the end of the road for the 240Z of John Siddons, electrical problems causing him to retire. After the penultimate stage of the day, Rex Broadbent had extended his lead to 22 seconds. But that would all change 500 metres into the final Rinadina stage.
Shit, you passed it.
100, 5 left, 5 left, 5 left.
Shit. You all right?
Yeah.
Bugger.
After an extraordinary run of 7 Targa Classic wins, was this to be Rex's last rally?
I'd made a sort of a commitment in my mind that this was going to be the last one. So, yeah, just one of those things. And I'm sorry for Paul. It looked like we were going to have a bit of luck, and we failed. Sorry, really sorry.
So at the end of day 3, Greg Garwood leads the Shannon's Classic outright field by a comfortable 2 minutes and 36 seconds from the Triumph TR7 of South Australia's Craig Hadesman, with championship leader Don Todd in third. In the Shannon's early classic handicap, Peter Ulrich's Jensen CV8 leads from Andrew White's 1961 Volvo 1225 and Paul Freestone's 1948 Holden 215. In Shannon's late classic handicap, Greg Garwood leads from Lee Achterberg's 1980 Porsche 944 and John Ireland in a 1977 Porsche 911 Carrera 3. After the break, we continue the classic story on the final 2 days of Targa Tasmania 2013. It was a cold start to the fourth leg, with temperatures around 0 degrees as they headed to Reese Dam to the north of Strawn on Tasmania's west coast, en route to Burnie and back, through 8 testing Targa stages and over 132 competitive kilometres.
Day 4, we start out of Strawn, then we head up to the northwest coast, a quick loop out of Burnie, over some of the roads such as the Pyman Road, again around the Reese Dam area. Then trying something new this year, a reverse Talia Gorge called Murchison, an interesting section of road in either direction. After lunch in Burnie, we've got Natone, which is the back end of the old Rihanna stage, particularly well known, having caught many a name out in the past, Jack Brabham and a number of others. Then we head over to Guns Plains, a shortened version of that for this year, and then we head into a new version of Rihanna, always known as a challenging stage, 36 kilometres in length. Really could be broken into 3 different types of road, heading right through to Hampshire on the edge of the Murchison Highway, through Plantation Forest, demanding road. Nobody has any technical knowledge of this section of road, so it's really going to be wide open to any level of competition.
Greg Garwood would continue to press on over the morning stages. Don Todd and John Ireland have quick times through the Murchison stage. But by the lunch hold in Burnie, Greg Garwood had a 3-minute 21-second lead over South Australia's Craig Hadesman. In the early classic handicap, Peter Ulrich's Jensen CV8 holds a comfortable 5-minute lead, but it isn't without problems.
And we are nursing it now, where the gearbox has gone a bit awry.
Lee Achterberg's Porsche 944 took over the lead in the late classic handicap, but it would be Targa Stage 30, Rihanna, that would see big changes to the classic outright lead.
Just got a misfire on the engine, basically. I'm not sure what it's done. Just sounds like it's dropped a cylinder, so that's motorsport, that's racing.
Engine problems for the A9X would see Craig Hadesman move to the front of the pack, with Queensland's Don Todd moving into second and John Ireland in third. By day's end, just 42 seconds separates the top 3 classic outright competitors.
Day 4, well, obviously a good day for us. We not so good for others, but no, we just sort of keep cruising along, and Greg sort of, which you got to feel sorry for Greg because he's put a lot of effort into trying to run down here at this event with both the cars, and they were going really well, like they were fast, and no one was going to touch him.
For Hadesman, sleep deprivation was a big factor during the day.
Gearbox problems last night, so we spent basically all night rebuilding the box, about 2 hours sleep, so we're a little bit off the pace this morning, struggling with sleep deprivation.
In early classic, Peter Ulrich had a comfortable lead of nearly 7 minutes, and Lee Achterberg leads late classic handicap. It was a cold start to leg 5, with temperatures below 0 on some of the early stages. Hadesman went out hard on the Strawn stage, extending the lead to just over a minute. Ireland, too, closing the gap on second. Hadesman would extend the gap by another 2 seconds on the 99 bends out of Queenstown. But the South Australians' Targa campaign would grind to an end when the rebuilt gearbox let go on the Marathon Mount Arrowsmith stage, handing Todd's Piranha the lead, the 5th leader in as many days.
looks like we pulled some massive time out of Toddy, out of Strawn, which was pretty cool. We had a crack, and that's all we can do.
By the end of Taralea, Don Todd held a comfortable 1 minute 3 second lead over the Porsche of John Ireland, with just 2 stages to go. Todd continued to extend his lead and goes on to win his first Targa Tasmania Shannon's Classic outright title.
It's a fast car. I'm a bit of a girl, so I sort of, I'll only go sort of so quick in it. And no, we picked a speed and we sat on it. And, you know, if the front runners didn't fall off, they were going to beat us by a mile. But, you know, we weren't going to let that phase us. And, you know, we just sort of stuck to our plan. And obviously it sort of worked for us, so we're happy.
Second was the Porsche of John Ireland, and third, Paul Stewart in a Porsche 911 Carrera RS.
We've had a great week. We've had the best driving, I think, that we've ever done. And we're just learning more and more about this car. It just talks to me, this car. It's a great car.
In the Shannon's Early Classic Handicap, Peter Ulrich comfortably won from the Volvo of Andrew White and the Holden of Paul Freestone.
We've changed the entire driveline of the car to standard spec this year, and our gearbox, standard gearbox, started jumping out of gear on day 2, so I've been holding it in gear for 3 days. And I've got a blister on my left hand and my right arm's aching.
In Shannon's Late Classic Handicap, it was a Porsche trifecta, with Lee Achterberg winning from John Ireland in second and Paul Stewart in third.
A tough day today, but we managed to come through, so we're pretty happy.
After the break, we take a look at the modern competitions of Targa Tasmania 2013. The Australian Targa Championship is held over 4 action-packed rounds. Favourite to win here in Targa Tasmania is Jason White, who's currently in 4th position on the championship table. Every team has to drop out their worst result, but White can't afford to fail here after a DNF in the Victorian round. Clinton Arentz and Peter Rouleau are ahead of White on the leaderboard, but there's double points on offer across this 6-day rally, so if you do well here, you'll rocket up the standings. This is the spiritual home of Targa rallies, and with 6 days of competition, it comes with double points on offer. The final also sees each team dropping their lowest score. This makes Jason White a huge threat, not only to defend his Targa Tasmania title, but the chance to win his Australian Targa Championship. But as good as the Lamborghini driver is, there are a host of top drivers lined up to knock him off his perch.
Look, this year the modern competition, I believe, is wide open. Whitey is far from having it his own way. Spectacular car, great driver, excellent crewing in the car with John. But look, this year we've got some new challenges in the form of Steve Glennie and Bernie Webb, fresh off their Mazda factory drive in the RX-8 into a GDR. Matt Close, his current specification Audi TT-RS Plus, new DSG gearbox. He's trialling some new release Dunlop tyres. I think he's here to have a fairly serious crack at it. Of course, one that can never be discounted. He's always in the hunt. Jim Richards, Barry Oliver in the GD2 RS, 7 Targa Tasmania victories. Who knows what he can produce.
The early modern championship for cars released between 1986 and 2002 is also hotly contested. Just 9 points separate the top 5 cars in this series championship, and the one finishing ahead of this pack will certainly take the title. Lloyd Berger and Michael Pritchard both share the lead and are aiming to take out their first championship. Steve Glennie won Targa Tasmania in 2008 in a Mitsubishi, and then drove for Mazda without repeating the win. But this year he's back behind the wheel of a 2009 Nissan GTR, and he uses the first stages to get accustomed to the new beast.
New car for me, this Nissan GTR, so more gently, just learning the car, learning how it responds, and hopefully we can just sort of build our speed throughout the week.
There's a gaggle of GTRs that'll be really hard to beat, but they've been having their mechanical issues that they haven't been able to get around for the last few events, so it'll be down to who has the least amount of mechanical issues, I reckon.
Jason White proved why he's considered the favourite on the first stages. But at the conclusion of leg one, Steve Glennie was a whole lot closer than White wanted. Matt and Casey Close are always vying for contention in their Audi TT RS. They had a ripping day one and were also giving White a run for his money. Rulo, in his 2012 GTR, was in second place in the championship and had high hopes going into leg one. But in pre-event testing, 2 drive shafts had been destroyed, and stage 2 saw his gearbox go the same way. His championship hopes dashed after this round had barely began. With Tony Quinn withdrawing, White's quest for the championship suddenly looked a whole lot easier. But to finish first in motorsport, you first have to finish. And some competitors were doing it even tougher. As leg 2 gets underway, crews welcome drier roads. The previous year saw atrocious conditions across this part of the course. White set off with a goal to have a minute's lead by day's end, but on the first stage, Ross Arden, his gearbox jammed. There was more bad luck on the very next stage, with the drive shaft giving up on the Elephant Pass stage.
We thought, righto, great, we can get our teeth into a bit of Elephant Pass, and bang, the front diff blew, actually blowing the casing apart.
Steve Glennie was yet to be in sync with his new car, but now found himself in the lead. White now had to spend the next 6 stages driving to survive, with only 2-wheel drive capabilities.
I turned the traction control up to limit the amount of rear wheel speed compared to the front, and it managed to live through the stage.
Glennie was making the most of the dry roads and his 4-wheel drive grip, carving out a 17-second lead by the end of leg 2. Was back in the game on leg 3, but not for long.
We probably just came in a little bit too hot. We didn't note that there was a few bumps coming into the corner, and front wheels, come off the ground a little, and without any traction, we didn't slow the car down enough. So unfortunately, we've just come off the road here.
But the question going into leg 3 was whether Jason White could regain the lead, or would Steve Glennie be able to keep him at bay? The answer came quickly. Seconds faster on Mole Creek stage, 16 seconds faster on Sathana. White swiftly moved into the lead. But Steve Glennie was up to the challenge, setting the fastest times on the next 3 stages. The battle continued to seesaw across to the west coast. By the end of leg 3 at Strawn, White was back to a 13-second lead.
the tussle will continue, but it was always going to be the way. As soon as I seen Steve on the entry list, I knew that it was going to be a ding-dong, and, you know, just unbelievable where he can strip time out here, and then yeah, you can just hope to do the same to him, and we're having a great old time.
There's a few that I can push on that sort of favour the strengths of this GTR. The flatter, longer sort of stages rather than the steep descents. So we'll certainly be pushing on those to see if we can eke back some time.
Matt Close in his Audi was staying in touch with much less power than White and Glennie. But he has experience to know consistency and longevity can keep him in the race. But a blown turbo on the final run to Queenstown saw him out of the rally, and disappointed he could not achieve his dream again in 2013.
We're fairly certain we haven't got what we need to fix it, so unfortunately we're going to have to call it quits. It's been ultra reliable for 3 years, so it's quite a surprise to us, and that was a fairly new turbo and engine. So yeah, these things happen.
The battle in early modern is always as epic as the rally itself. After leg one, there was only 1 second separating the Pritchard 2003 911 GT3 from Ben Mannion's 1990 Skyline. But leg two saw Ben Mannion falling off the pace due to mechanical problems, and Michael Pritchard streaking ahead. After taking out the rest point round of the championship, he was now owning the early modern field in his 2003 911 GT3.
It's all about car preservation really, and avoiding driver fatigue and not making mistakes, and at the end of the day we've got to run one corner at a time, and Gary calls the corner, I drive the corner, and when he runs out of corners to call we'll be finished, and hopefully where we sit will be really nice.
So after leg three, we see the Whites lead the RDA Brakes modern competition from the GTRs of Steve Glennie in second and Matt Sims in third. In the RDA Brakes early modern competition, Michael Pritchard leads Ben Mannion by 14 seconds, with Jeff Beeble's GTR in third. After the break, we continue the modern competitions towards the podium of Targa, Tasmania 2013. The village of Strawn on Tasmania's rugged and exposed west coast housed the crews for their overnight stop after leg three. A chance for teams and crews to relax in preparation of the longest and most gruelling in Targa rallying anywhere in the world. The village filled with stories of the journey so far, while indulging in the magnificent seafood the region offers. The morning dawned clear yet crisp. Crews were anxious with what lay ahead. The mercury had not risen above freezing before the first cars were flagged off the start line for the morning's first stage. The battle in modern and early modern was fantastically placed. Steve Glennie and Bernie Webb in the 2009 GTR were very much in striking distance of White, with 15 stages remaining. And in early modern, Ben Mannion would overtake Pritchard's GT3 if he continued to dominate the stage times. The 1990 Skyline did indeed leap away. It was a magnificent run from the boys in the 23-year-old Skyline, cleaning the stage. Pritchard, though, started to creep away yet again and led by more than a minute at lunch service in Burnie.
We'll bat on through the day and it's still a long way to go, so anything can happen.
But just as quickly as Pritchard extended the lead, he was once again reeled back in, Mannion slashing it back to 34 seconds by the end of leg four. Jason and John White had traded blows with Steve Glennie over the leg three stages. He was needing to demand everything of his Lamborghini to build an event-winning lead. But still more problems restricted the Whites' intentions.
We just checked the oil back there with the boys doing a bit of a service, and it looks like there's more fuel in the oil in the engine than there is oil. So that's become our new concern. We need to try and get some time to get that out of it and get oil back into it. So I don't think the engine will survive long.
But Glennie was having problems of his own with clutch dramas, not being able to power away through gear changes. Glennie 13 seconds slower than White on the Pyman stage, and then falling back another 15 on Murchison stage. After coming into Targa rallies with a storm in 2011, Matthew Sims has had a horror championship to date, not making it to the finish line in any of the 3 previous rounds. The 4th and final round sees him backing off the speed slightly and making endurance the priority. After leg 4, he's perfectly placed in 3rd, and knowing that he'll win if things go pear-shaped for the top 2.
We've got a good buffer to 4, so there's no point doing anything silly, but realistically we're still got to be fast. You know, things can happen and issues can happen, so we're just going to get through it, not take too many risks, and see everyone at Hobart.
Legendary driver in all forms of motorsport, Jim Richards, is also going about his business consistently. Always in touch with the same game plan as Sims, he was holding 4th position. As the penultimate day of Targa closes, the survival and endurance is in the front of every competitor's mind. The final leg of the Australian Targa Championship is always the legendary West Coast run, through from Strawn to Hobart, taking in the iconic Queenstown and Arrowsmith stages. Queenstown is tight and twisty and suits White. Arrowsmith is open and fast and will suit Glennie. Predictably, White takes 6 seconds from Glennie on the famous 99 bends of Queenstown. But on the start line of Arrowsmith, Glennie has one chance to make his run.
Go.
There's 58 kilometres of fast open tarmac where the GTR's acceleration advantage should make up time. But Jason White is absolutely at his limit, throwing the car around every corner to minimise braking and take away the acceleration advantage of the GTR. The Whites cross the line and remarkably have travelled the 58-kilometre stage in 23 minutes 56 seconds, cleaning the stage 4 seconds quicker than the base time. Glennie was 8 cars behind and still on the stage. He crosses the line 15 seconds slower than White. Barring disaster for Lamborghini, Glennie would have to settle for 2nd place. Jason White makes it 4 Targa Tasmania wins and back-to-back state titles, with Steve Glennie in 2nd, 1 minute 5 seconds behind, and Matt Sims in 3rd.
Yeah, that's 4 now for us, so very, very happy with that. It's been a long week, arduous, and plenty of little hurdles to jump over, some of them fairly big, and we've had a lot of concerns, but we've made it, and that's very sweet.
She was a hard event. We hit oil in Arrowsmith there a couple of times, and all I could see was the flaming bank coming straight at us, and I thought to myself, oh, Jesus, we're buggered.
We were doubtful whether we could catch Whitey today. It was just a matter of getting the old girl home. She's a bit tired, had a hard week chasing the Lambo, and we've made it in 2nd place. We're pretty happy.
Nice to have a car that finishes for once. So, look, it was really good. You know, like Steve drives like a demon possessed. So for us to try and catch him was out of the question. So we just had to sit there and maintain that gap to Jim today and make sure we could bring that car home. So, really happy with the result.
Interest now turns to those in early modern. Mannion's Skyline was in reach at the start of the day from Pritchard's GT3. Strawn, then Queenstown, saw Mannion close the gap to just 20 seconds. Mount Arrowsmith would be the defining stage also for early modern. Mannion sprinted his way through the 58 kilometres, each corner an opportunity to continue to carve away at the GT3. Like White, Mannion dominated his rival on the iconic Arrowsmith stage, a full 30 seconds quicker than Pritchard. The 20-second deficit turned into a 10-second lead. But unlike White, Mannion could not afford to consolidate. He needed to push on across the remaining stages. Also a terrific battle for 3rd and 4th, the Thatcher 94 Nissan was 24 seconds slower than the Perini Porsche, Thatcher surrendering his place on the podium. But it was not for long. Thatcher grabbing 3rd back on the very next stage, Tarraleah. Woodsdale stage would be where Perini needed to try and snatch his podium place, but it wasn't to be. 12 seconds too slow. So after 5 days and over 600 competitive kilometres, we see Ben Mannion take out the RDA Brakes early modern competition, with Michael Pritchard in 2nd, 28 seconds behind, and Stephen Thatcher in 3rd.
It was quite a busy day today. We
Thought we had a lot bigger gap to pull back than we did, so we had to dip through some of the early stages, and it turns out we didn't have to pull back that much after all.
When we return, we take a look at the showroom competitions of Targa Tasmania 2013. Categories of Targa Tasmania 2013 are for modern cars that are raced pretty well as they were when they were on the showroom floor, with minimal modifications, and are broken up into 3 categories. RDA Brakes Showroom 2-wheel drive, RDA Brakes 4-wheel drive Showroom, and RDA Brakes Showroom Sports. In Showroom 2-wheel drive, it was the battle of the Renaults, with Adam Spence in a Renault Megane RS250 taking the lead from TV personality turned rally driver Grant Denyer.
You're doing 200k an hour in these gorgeous, like spectacular stretches of road, going over these blind crests, and just, you can't wipe the smile off your face. It's electric.
But it would be the final stage of day 3 that would see Adam crash out and give Grant the lead.
We were pushing the leader really, really hard, really getting our speed up, really going fast, taking some stages off them, and they've had an accident. So while we're here, they're okay, and that's the most important thing.
With a 10-minute lead, the race was on for the Showroom Championship, with second-placed Indonesia's Bunge Noor in a Renault Megane RS250 and fourth-placed Glyn Crimp in the Ford Focus R6. Leg 4 would see Denyer extend his lead by another 3.5 minutes and showed no sign of backing off.
Yeah, we knew the competition was tough in Showroom, but we didn't think we were going to be that hard on one another.
Leg 5 would see Denyer go further ahead from Bunge Noor and go on to win his first Targa Tasmania title in the RDA Brakes 2-wheel drive Showroom competition.
Absolutely stoked. Never completed a Targa, always had TV get in the way, but to do one from start to finish and win the class, mate, just unbelievable. We've got here and we're just happy to get across the line.
Showroom 4-wheel drive was the battle between Mitsubishi and Subaru. Championship leader Greg Burrows, Alan Mayer and Scotty Miller in Mitsubishi Evos, with Ben Newman in a Subaru WRX STI.
I seem to be the only Mitsubishi sort of keeping it up to the Subarus, so I've just got to make sure I keep my pace up, or the Subarus will definitely be nipping at us.
Scott Miller blitzed the field early in the race, with second place changing between Angus Kennard and Ben Newman across day 2. But this would end on day 3's Sathana stage, when oil drop from a blown engine would cause Miller to crash out, handing Newman a 6-second lead from Kennard.
Well, coming down the hill, going really fast, would have been 160, 170 down the hill there, and I've come to my braking point before I hit this one here. I've just jumped onto the brakes. The thing's just changed ends. We've just spun right around. I flicked it back to see if we could get it, and she's just coming backwards into the rail. Nothing I could do.
Ben would extend this to 30 seconds by day's end. The chance for Targa glory ended just 500 metres into the second stage of day 4, when Ben Newman's Subaru had an electrical problem, giving the lead to Angus Kennard and a 12-minute buffer to second place Greg Burrows. Newman got things sorted and continued, and posted the fastest times on Natone, Rihanna and Mount Black to bring them back to 5th spot. Even with such a large lead over Burrows, Angus Kennard doesn't back off on leg 5, extending his lead by 30 seconds. But Newman has the drive of his life, pulling back big numbers on the Strawn and Mount Arrowsmith stages, giving him 3rd place. An unbelievable result, considering the time lost on leg 4. So at the end of leg 5, Angus Kennard wins RDA Brakes Showroom 4-wheel drive from the Evo 10 of Greg Burrows and the Subaru of Ben Newman in 3rd.
I thought at the start of the week it was going to be very difficult, and it was a good battle, but in the end we got there.
In Showroom Sports for 2-wheel drive cars valued under $200,000, the event was dominated by Team Yellow and their twin Chevrolet Corvettes from the Mustang Shelby GT500 of Craig Dean. Neil Ford extended his lead over his son Daniel in 2nd over the last 2 days of the event. but Dean won every stage after Pyman on leg 4, pulling back times considerably by the end of the race. Neil Ford went on to win RDA Breaks Showroom Sports.
So that's what Targa's all about. It's a 5-day event, and so a slower car can get there and win.
After 4 rounds of the CAMS Australian Targa Championship, Jason White wins back-to-back titles for the modern competition, from Clinton Ahrens in 2nd and Jim Richards in 3rd. Don Todd makes it back-to-back championships for the classic outright competition, from John Ireland in 2nd and Barry Foe in 3rd. Todd also takes out the early Classic Handicap Championship again, with John Ireland winning the late Classic Handicap Championship. Glenn Crimp wins the 2-wheel drive Showroom Championship from Bunge Nor, with Greg Burrows winning the Showroom 4-wheel drive Championship from Alan Mayer. Neil Ford takes out the inaugural Showroom Sports Championship from Craig Dean. So as the drivers celebrate their victories for this championship, thoughts turn to Adelaide in August, as the drivers again do battle for round 1 of the 2014 Australian Targa Championship.